My wife screamed at me for not buying her flowers, so I bought myself peace instead, and she's still waiting for a text that won't come. I'm a 32-year-old guy. And the last argument I ever had with my wife started over a $20 bouquet. It was our 5th wedding anniversary, a quiet Thursday after a long workday. I came home tired, but content, holding takeout from her favorite Thai place. The house smelled faintly of her vanilla candles, and for a second, everything felt normal. I set the food on the table and called out, "Happy anniversary, babe." Anna turned from the mirror with a cold, sharp look. "Where are my flowers?" I blinked, confused. I didn't get any. "I thought we'd have dinner and maybe go out this weekend." Her face twisted like I'd just insulted her. "You forgot our anniversary, didn't you?" "I didn't forget," I said, my voice low, calm. "I brought dinner. I just didn't think flowers were—" She cut me off with a scoff. "You didn't think? That's the problem, Mark. Real husbands think. Real men try. You never do anything romantic anymore." The words hit harder than I expected. I stood there, takeout bag still in my hands, while she continued, her voice rising, sharper with every sentence. "Do you know how embarrassing it is? My friends post pictures of what their husbands do for them. Roses, dinners, trips, and I get pad thai from a plastic container?" It wasn't about flowers. It never was. I could feel the heat building in my chest, frustration, confusion, a hint of sadness. "Anna, it's not a competition. I work all week. I'm trying." She stared at me with eyes that used to hold warmth. "You're not trying hard enough." That was the moment something inside me cracked, not in anger, but in realization. This fight wasn't new. It was the same storm I'd been standing in for years. I'd just finally noticed how cold the rain had gotten, and that was only the beginning when we first met. Anna wasn't like this. She was kind, funny, down-to-earth, the kind of woman who laughed at simple things, like my failed attempts at cooking, or how I'd forget where I parked. Back then, she said she didn't need grand gestures, just honesty and effort. I gave her both. But somewhere between the wedding photos and the endless scroll of social media, something changed. Anna started following power couples, the kind who documented every date night, surprise gift and vacation like they were filming a movie. She'd watch those videos late into the night, sighing softly, and glance at me with disappointment. "Look at this," she'd say, showing me her phone. "He bought her a spa weekend just because she was stressed. Isn't that sweet?" I'd smile weakly. "Yeah, that's nice." But the unspoken message was clear. Why can't you be more like him? I was working 2 jobs at that point, managing warehouse logistics by day and freelancing online at night, just so we could afford the house she'd wanted. Every paycheck went toward stability. Meanwhile, she craved spectacle. The first time I noticed the shift publicly was after a small argument about chores. Later that night, she posted a story that read, "It's sad when love feels one-sided." Oh! I stared at it for a long time, realizing it was about me. When I confronted her, she rolled her eyes. "Relax. It's just a quote." But it wasn't just a quote. It was a pattern. Every disagreement became ammunition for her to broadcast our cracks. I kept trying flowers sometimes, surprise dinners, even handwritten notes. None of it mattered. Her validation wasn't something I could give. It lived in the hearts and likes of strangers, and for the first time, I started to wonder, was I her husband, or just her proof that she deserved better? At some point, I started realizing that Anna only loved me when someone else was watching in public. She'd slip her arm through mine, laugh at my jokes, even call me my amazing husband when people were around. But the moment the door closed, her tone shifted, sharp, precise, cutting in ways that didn't leave bruises but still hurt just the same. "Why do you talk like that? You sound so awkward," she'd say mid-dinner. Or maybe if you worked harder, we could actually afford something nice for once. Every word chipped away at me. I stopped talking about my hobbies because she called them childish. Stopped buying anything for myself because she said it was selfish. The house got quieter, not peaceful, just tense, like living inside a beautiful picture frame filled with cracks no one wanted to see. I tried to fix it, of course. I suggested therapy. She laughed, said therapy was for people who didn't know how to handle relationships. I planned date nights, wrote small love notes, even started leaving her favorite coffee by the bedside before she woke up. Every effort was met with a shrug or that same phrase, too little, too late. It wasn't that she wanted flowers or affection. She wanted power, the kind that came from watching me try, fail, and apologize for not being enough. One night after another argument that went nowhere, I just sat on the couch in silence while she scrolled on her phone beside me. She posted a photo of us smiling from an old vacation, captioned, "Love is about patience." It got over 100 likes. She smiled at the screen. I looked at her, the woman next to me, glowing in blue light, and realized something terrifying. She didn't want a husband. She wanted an audience. It happened at a friend's engagement party. One of those cozy backyard gatherings strung with fairy lights and soft music. I remember the smell of barbecue, laughter, and the faint chill of evening air. For once I thought we'd have a peaceful night. Anna was radiant that evening, wearing a red dress that turned heads the second we walked in. She thrived on attention, and I was content to stand by her, drink in hand, smiling at her stories even when she exaggerated the details. Then it happened. Our friend's fiancé, us, walked in holding a bouquet of roses, deep crimson, wrapped perfectly. Everyone clapped and cheered as he handed them to his future wife. It was a sweet, simple moment, until I saw Anna's face. Her smile froze. Then she turned to me, her voice low but sharp. "See? That's how a real man treats his wife." I tried to laugh it off, whispering, "Anna, not now, please." But she didn't stop. Her voice grew louder, slicing through the music. "Maybe if you weren't so cheap, I'd actually feel loved once in a while." God, Mark, do you even care how pathetic you make me look? Conversations died. Dozens of eyes turned toward us. I felt my throat tighten, a wave of heat crawling up my neck. I muttered, "Anna, stop. You're making a scene." She grabbed her purse, glaring at me. "I'm making a scene? No, Mark. I'm finally telling the truth." Then she stormed out, heels clacking against the pavement, leaving silence behind her. I stood there, frozen, humiliated, clutching my untouched drink. A few friends approached, their smiles strained. "Hey man, you okay?" one asked quietly. That night, my phone buzzed with texts, sympathy, confusion, concern. But as I read them, one thought kept circling in my mind. I wasn't the problem. Her love had become a performance. She hated me for refusing to play along. The next morning, Anna was a completely different person. Her voice was soft, trembling, eyes red from crying. "I'm so sorry, Mark," she whispered, clutching my hand. "I don't know what came over me. I've just been stressed. Work, life, everything. You didn't deserve that." And just like that, my anger melted again. She cried into my chest, promising to change, swearing she'd never humiliate me like that again. "You're a good husband," she said between sobs. I get emotional. I overthink. Please don't give up on me." I wanted to believe her. I always did. So I forgave her. For about a week, things were calm. She made me breakfast before work, sent sweet texts, even planned a movie night. I almost started to believe that the storm had finally passed. But it never lasted long. It started small. A sarcastic comment about how some men surprise their wives with little gifts once in a while. Then it turned into a lecture about how I never listen, how I don't care about emotional needs. By the end of that week, we were right back where we started, her voice sharp, mine quiet. Both of us circling the same old battlefield. That's when I started writing things down. Not to prove her wrong, just to make sense of it all. Every argument, every apology. Every time she twisted my words until I doubted my own memory. When I read through the pages weeks later, I saw the pattern clearly. She always started with an accusation, escalated it, and then flipped it into a sob story about how I had made her feel unloved. It was a cycle, and was trapped inside it. But here's the cruel part about emotional abuse. You don't realize how deep you've sunk until you start gasping for air. And I was already drowning. I just didn't know it yet. My birthday came a few months later. Honestly, I didn't expect much. After everything that had happened, I just wanted a quiet evening, maybe a small dinner, a slice of cake, something simple. But the day passed like any other. No card. No happy birthday. Not even a text. I came home from work to find Anna on the couch scrolling through her phone, a half-finished glass of wine beside her. "Hey," I said lightly, forcing a smile. "You know what day it is?" She looked up, puzzled. Thursday. It's my birthday." Her eyes widened for half a second, then she laughed. "Oh, right. Wow, I totally forgot. You didn't remind me." I tried to joke it off. "Most people don't have to remind their spouses." She shrugged. "Come on, Mark. You're not a woman. You don't need romance. You don't even like parties." The casualness of her tone cut deeper than if she'd yelled. I just nodded, went to the kitchen, and microwaved leftovers from the night before. She didn't even look up when I walked past her again later that night. She posted a story, a mirror selfie with the caption, "Self-care night," because we all deserve to treat ourselves. I stared at it from the other room, feeling something inside me go quiet. It wasn't about the forgotten birthday. It was about what it revealed, that love to her was a one-way performance. My efforts were obligations. Her neglect was just personality. That night, I moved into the guest room. She didn't notice until morning. "What's this?" she asked. "I just need some space," I said softly. She rolled her eyes. "God, you're so dramatic." As she walked away, I lay back on the cold sheets of that smaller bed, realizing the distance between us wasn't just emotional anymore. It had finally turned into walls. It happened on a Tuesday night, ordinary, uneventful, like most of our nights had become. Anna was sitting on the couch, frowning at her phone. "Ugh, this thing keeps freezing. Can you fix it?" she said, tossing it toward me. I took it, unlocked the screen, and started troubleshooting. But as I scrolled through her apps, a notification popped up. A message. From someone named Evan. It wasn't what I saw first, it was what I felt. That sickening drop in my stomach. The kind you get when your instincts finally catch up to what your heart's been denying. I shouldn't have opened it. I know that. But curiosity. No, fear, it took over. The chat wasn't graphic. It was worse. It was intimate. "You always know how to make me smile, sweetheart. If only Mark noticed me half as much as you do. You'd never let me feel invisible." I froze. My throat went dry. The room suddenly felt too quiet, too heavy. When I looked up, she was watching me, eyes wide, face pale. "Why are you reading that?" she snapped, like I was the one breaking trust. "Who's Evan?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. She crossed her arms, defensive. "He's a coworker. We talk, I vent. You wouldn't understand because you're never emotionally available." I just stared at her, at the woman who once promised honesty, now standing there weaponizing my silence. "Sweetheart," I repeated softly. Her jaw clenched. "It's just a word, Mark. You're overreacting." But I didn't argue. I didn't shout. I didn't even cry. I just handed her the phone and walked out of the room. For the first time, I didn't feel anger. I felt distance. And that scared her far more than any fight ever could. After the Evan incident, things went cold. We barely spoke, barely looked at each other. The house felt like a museum, everything in its place, but nothing alive. One evening, I broke the silence. "Anna," I said quietly, "we can't keep doing this. Let's try therapy. Just once. Please." She rolled her eyes, but finally agreed, muttering, "Fine. Maybe a professional will finally tell you how impossible you are." I should have taken that as a warning. The first session started calm. The therapist, a middle-aged woman with kind eyes, asked us to share our perspectives. I spoke honestly how I felt unheard, dismissed, constantly walking on eggshells. When it was Anna's turn, she immediately started crying. "See?" she said, dabbing her tears with a tissue. He's twisting everything. He makes me feel crazy. He never shows affection. I'm the one who tries. The therapist listened patiently, then gently said, "It sounds like both of you are hurting. Maybe we can explore ways to rebuild trust and meet halfway." Halfway? Anna snapped, cutting her off. Why do I always have to meet halfway? Why am I the problem? Before either of us could respond, she grabbed her purse and stormed out, slamming the door so hard, the sound echoed through the office. I sat there in silence, staring at the empty chair across from me. The therapist exhaled softly. "That wasn't your fault," she said. "You can't force someone to heal if they benefit from staying broken." That line stayed with me. That night, Anna screamed again, accusing me of turning everyone against her. "Even the therapist took your side." She yelled. I didn't argue. I didn't defend myself. When she finally went to bed, I walked into the guest room, pulled out a small duffel bag and started packing. Not out of anger, but because I finally understood. You can't fix someone who breaks you for sport. I left on a Sunday morning. No big plan, no dramatic goodbye, just quiet resolve. The sun hadn't even risen yet when I slipped out of bed, showered, and looked around the room one last time. Her side of the dresser was cluttered with makeup and perfume bottles, each one carefully arranged like trophies. My side was almost empty. It somehow felt symbolic. I grabbed my duffel bag, the same one I'd packed days earlier, and placed a folded note on the kitchen counter. It read, "I can buy flowers again someday, just not for someone who tramples them." That was it. No explanations, no accusations. Just truth. I moved into my friend Ben's spare room that afternoon. The silence there felt almost foreign at first. No footsteps, no slammed doors, no sighs of disappointment filling the air. Just quiet. And for a moment, I didn't know whether to cry or breathe. By evening, my phone started lighting up. First, a few missed calls. Then texts, "You're really leaving over this? You're such a coward. Please come home. We can fix this. I hate you." The messages swung wildly between guilt and rage, love and loathing. Voice notes followed, sobbing apologies one minute, venom the next, but I didn't reply. Not because I wanted to hurt her, but because I finally understood what peace felt like and how fragile it was. That night, sitting on a creaky twin bed surrounded by boxes, I realized something that broke me a little inside. I didn't miss her. I missed the idea of her. I missed the version of us that existed before she turned our love into performance. And for the first time in years, I felt the ache of something unfamiliar. Freedom. It hurt. But it was finally mine. The first week alone felt strange, like I was learning to breathe again after years of holding my breath. Ben left early for work most days, so the apartment was quiet. Too quiet at first. I'd catch myself listening for Anna's footsteps, her voice, her sighs, and then remembering I didn't have to anymore. So I started rebuilding. Small things at first. Cooking breakfast the way I liked it, scrambled eggs with too much cheese and toast slightly burnt. I played music again, loud and off-key, something Anna always hated. I called old friends I hadn't spoken to in years. Some were surprised to hear from me. Others just said, "It's good to have you back." That hit harder than I expected. I spent evenings walking around the neighborhood, just watching couples laughing, kids riding bikes, shopkeepers closing up. Life kept moving. And for the first time, I didn't feel left behind. I felt present. One afternoon, I stopped by a small flower shop near the park. The smell of lilies and roses filled the air. I almost walked out, old memories tugging at me, but something stopped me. I bought a single white daisy. It's just one. The woman behind the counter smiled and wrapped it gently. "Someone special?" she asked. I smiled back. "Yeah," I said quietly. "Me." That flower sat in a glass by the window for a week before it wilted. Every morning I'd look at it and remind myself that peace doesn't have to be loud. It can live in simple, quiet choices. Anna still called, still texted, begging for closure, but I'd already given it to myself. The ache of loneliness was still there, sure, but it was cleaner now, honest. and that honesty felt like the first real thing I'd had in years. A few quiet weeks passed. I was getting used to my new rhythm. Morning coffee by the window, long walks after dinner, music playing softly instead of shouting matches filling the air. Life had stopped feeling like survival. It was just life again. Then one night, as I was about to sleep, my phone lit up with a name I hadn't seen in a while. Anna. For a moment, my heart still reacted before my mind caught up. The message preview sat on the screen like a ghost from another life. You owe me at least a conversation. I just stared at it. That one line said everything, not we need to talk or I'm sorry but you owe me. Even now, she saw closure as a transaction, as something I was supposed to give her to soothe her conscience. I read it again. And again. My thumb hovered over the screen for what felt like minutes. The old version of me, the fixer, the peacemaker, wanted to respond, to explain, to make her understand, but there was nothing left to explain. Understanding had never been the problem. Respect was so. I opened her contact, scrolled down, and pressed delete. No anger. No satisfaction. Just silence, the kind that felt like reclaiming something sacred. My phone went still, and for the first time, I didn't feel the need to look back. A few days later, a mutual friend mentioned over coffee, "She's still waiting for your text, you know. Says you owe her closure." I smiled softly. She's waiting for something I stopped giving a long time ago, permission to hurt me. They didn't come from bitterness. They came from peace, and as I walked home that evening, phone quiet in my pocket, I realized something simple. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is nothing at all. A few months have passed since I walked out of that house, since I stopped trying to fix what only existed for the sake of appearance. The world feels different now. Softer, quieter, kinder. This morning, I decided to visit the park near Ben's place, the same one I used to rush past on my way to work. The air smelled like grass and morning rain. Families laughed on benches, kids ran through puddles, and everywhere I looked, flowers bloomed wild and unplanned. Not arranged, not bought, just growing because they could. I sat on a bench and watched them sway in the breeze. That's when it hit me, all that time. I thought love was something you proved, through gifts, through patience, through pain. But real love doesn't need performance. It grows quietly, like those flowers. I pulled out my phone, scrolling through my camera roll, photos of dinners I'd cooked, sunsets I'd walked through, places I'd gone alone but not lonely. For once, the silence didn't feel empty. It felt earned. I didn't buy her flowers, I murmured to myself. I bought myself peace. And it really was the best purchase I'd ever made. I know she's probably still telling her side somewhere how I was cold, distant, unromantic. But that version of me isn't mine anymore. I've stopped living in the story she created. Peace, I've learned, isn't something someone gives you when they finally change. It's what you choose when you decide you've had enough of being small for someone else. As the sun dipped behind the trees, I stood and took one last look at the flowers, wild, imperfect, real. No roses, no bouquets, no performances. Just life continuing, beautifully unarranged, and for the first time in years, I smiled, not for anyone watching, not for validation, just for me.